This has huge implications on the Devils. Major moves incoming with some guys on the roster, potentially Andre Palat. And does it involve Dougie Hamilton? That's a great question. Well, you're going to have to stick around and find out. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to Devils Digest. I'm your host, Ryan the Goose Gosiker, here with you, as always, bringing you the latest, greatest Devils content, as we always try to do. Before we get into the show, I want to give you a chance to be a subscriber. Our goal is 500 subscribers. I remember when there were 0 subscribers and we were just starting this channel and trying to get things out. We're now over the 300 mark, but we need your help to get to that 500 goal, and that way we can just keep climbing from there. So please hit that subscribe button for us and subscribe to Devils Digest. Now let's get into the program. Now I wanted, the offseason really gives you a chance to sit back, relax, kind of think through some things. And I came across this article this week that I wanted to do a video on and share with everybody about the upcoming changes to clauses coming up in contracts that I found really interesting. James Nichols wrote this article. I took some snips out of it. Obviously, James has some deeper intel on some of the players and stuff like that. But for the most part, I wanted to stick to what we're getting to, which is what is actually changing in some of these clauses, right? So in the gain category, which means they're gaining more protection, which makes them harder to trade, the lone wolf is Johnathan Kovacevic. He signed his 5-year extension. That will give him a full no-trade clause for the next 2 seasons when the deal kicks in on July 1. I believe all of these change as of July 1st, so that just keep that in mind. That's going to be important to note. So Johnathan Kovacevic, the only Devil gaining anything in terms of protection from trade clauses. Now let's get into who's losing in who's changing, we should say, in that regard. Erik Haula is one of them. His full no-trade clause shifts to a 6-team no-trade list, and that gives GM Tom Fitzgerald 25 NHL teams to work with via trade, should he choose that path. I think I've been particularly clear since the offseason started. I think some of you have been very clear in the comment section of these videos. It's time. It's time to move on from Erik Haula and that contract. I know it's, you're going to say, wow, people will reason and say, well, it's, I think it's $3.15 million. Guys, they're going to have to upgrade this roster. If Tom is a man of his word, I have said this before, and I'm sure my partner Aiden Barrett has said it as well. If GM Tom Fitzgerald does stick to his word, and this team is, quote, not to look the same as last year because it was not good enough, then there's going to be guys on the move that we don't necessarily expect. And we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. But I think Hall is a guy a lot of people are like, well, he had that bad start. Guys, he didn't just have a bad week, a month. He disappeared for over 3 months. You could have told me he wasn't a part of the team and I would have believed you. He was a ghost, basically. He didn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, he starts to play a little bit better here down the stretch. Take a look at some of his numbers on the year. 11 goals, 10 assists for a total of 21 points. That's just not good enough. I'm sorry. And I'm not a general manager. I'm never going to become a general manager. Okay, but I can certainly tell you that is not worth $3.15 million. And certainly for a team that says we're going to look different next year, it's got to start there, right? It's got to start at some of these easy subtractions. And there's two, I'm not saying necessarily easy in terms of money and everything, but right off the bat, common sense moves that you think the Devils have to make this offseason. And one of mine is to move Erik Haula. I think that's without question. Tom Fitzgerald needs to do what he can to move him to one of these 25 other teams. And if he's got to throw in a late round pick to sweeten the deal a little bit, whatever, he's got to do it. The other guy he's got to do this with is Andre Palat. And he shifts, I believe, just looking down here, from a full no move clause to a partial no move trade. Full no move clause to a partial no trade clause. He keeps his no movement rights, preventing him from being put on waivers or sent to the minors. However, he will have a 10-team list that he grants Tom Fitzgerald permission to trade him to on July 1st, should the Devils GM choose to do so. Now, this is the more likely option. I know in other videos we've talked about, are the Devils, can they buy him out of that contract? And again, this is where I credit you, the viewers. Some of you have been excellent in terms of explaining what the buyout process looks like and what the buyout process looks like money-wise for New Jersey, where, yeah, you're buying him out. You're not getting the full $6 million in cap relief, but you're getting something in return. Andre Palat will have a 10-team list that Tom Fitzgerald can trade him to. I expect Fitzgerald to be aggressive in trying to move Palat and out of that contract, and I fully expect him to try and sweeten the deal so that New Jersey's retention rate is well below 25%, if any at all. In a perfect world, they have a retention rate of 0, right, in terms of his contract. So in theory, you're looking at teams that maybe, are up, need to get to the salary cap floor. But you can imagine he's probably not going to put those teams on the list. So it's going to be very interesting to see what that list looks like. But again, I would expect Tom Fitzgerald to be very aggressive, okay? And I don't know if James Nichols mentions it here. He does in the first paragraph and kind of below, right before we get to what actually is changing. Palat just hasn't been that guy. And he's had moments. He's a very good moments in terms of that dirty work that he does. But for a team that's trying to make substantial change, to try and make a run for a Stanley Cup, to have him have just moments at an annual salary of $6 million is not good enough, and certainly cannot be here for the next 2 years. Because remind you, he's only going into year 4 of the 5-year contract. So technically, he's signed to be here for 2 more years. He will not be in New Jersey for 2 more years. I can promise you that. And I think GM Tom Fitzgerald is aggressive in trying to add something to sweeten the pot to trade Andre Palat away from New Jersey. Now, the last Devil that it changes is Dougie Hamilton. And we've talked about this, a little bit. He'll also have a 10-list team, a list of 10 teams. Excuse me, pardon my inability to speak. He will have a list of 10 teams that he approves the Devils to send him to. Okay, we've talked about this. I don't see it. I understand the reasons, and we've gotten some comments about how, you can't GM from, he's a fan favorite perspective, stuff like that. And I agree with you. I just believe, I don't see the Devils moving on from Hamilton. Now, I do believe if they trade for Quinn Hughes, he's got to be part of that deal, right? I mean, you'd have to imagine if the Devils have any chance of signing Quinn Hughes to a long-term extension, he's got to go, in my opinion. I think that's a shared opinion, but he would have to go. But it would be interesting, right? If he doesn't put the Canucks on that list, who knows? It's going to be very interesting to watch how these guys do it. Again, Haula and Palat, I would expect to be on the move from New Jersey. Again, with Palat being a very aggressive by Tom Fitzgerald in trying to get him out of here. Dougie is kind of an X factor, right? We mentioned it, right? If you look outside of Haula and Palat, now you start getting to, well, who else are they going to get rid of? You have the guys that are already free agents. I don't think you're letting go of, I don't think they're letting go of MacDermid. For whatever reason, they gave him a 3-year contract. That's a whole different video. But the other, then where do you go, right? Where are you cutting salary from? There's talks about potential Dawson Mercer. Is there a way to get his $4 million off the books, right? There was a whole stink of when Dillon got hurt as to it could be a career-ending injury, which would have obviously brought his salary off the books. But it looks like he's trying to be back for training camp. So there's a lot to go on with the Devils. All I'm saying is that there's a lot to do for New Jersey. So I think there are going to be guys on this team that we don't expect to be gone that will be gone because they have to cut salary somewhere or cut salary to gain a player somewhere else. So that's going to do it here for this video. Again, stay tuned. It's going to be a really crazy offseason for New Jersey. I know we got the draft coming up. Devils don't have our first round pick this year. They used it in the Jacob Markstrom deal. So, but we'll break that all down for you. Have some fun with it. Again, I just want to give you guys a shout out for being in the comment section. The last video I did was the Kyle Palmieri video. We got some really good responses, and got, again, being respectful and just, kind of giving your opinion. Somebody said, here's Newark Devil 66. Kyle Palmieri's the smallest player, smallish player, way past his prime. Our GM needs to go if Palmieri is signed. There's a few people that believe that Palmieri's the second coming of Andre Palat. I don't think they'd give him a long-term deal. That's not the purpose of what my video was, but certainly you never know. We have JB324, diehard fan since 95, subbed. Appreciate that, JB. All right. And again, people just explaining what their thought process is when it comes to this, and I love it. So please leave us comments. Let us know what you think, whether it's good, whether it's bad. We love it. Let's talk Devils hockey. That's what this community is for. That's what it's about. And, man, I just love chatting with everybody. So I'm going to let you go. A little bit longer video today, but man, it's always good to talk to everybody about Devils hockey. So make sure you leave us a comment. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, right? We're trying to get to that goal of 500. 500, we got to get there, okay? You can't go higher than 500 until you get to 500. So we need your help to bridge the gap. We're over 300. We need you to get to 500. So please, 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 please subscribe, and we appreciate it. So again, thank you for listening. I love everybody listening, watching, whatever you're doing with this content. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time on Devil's Digest.